I just can't do that a lot. I got deals I'm trying to close and keep together. And I get that. I understand. And I want to make this participative. I want to make this something that people enjoy and benefit from. So we're going to work hard at that.
Are you actually in the EXP conference room? Oh, wait, never mind. EXP
no.
is all virtual.
Yeah, no, I do that on, I do an EXP call on Monday morning. This is public. We're going to do it here on Zoom. And I do stream it live, and we are live right now on YouTube. So welcome. I'm Bill Gross. I'm with EXP Realty in Los Angeles. This is probateweekly.com. It's a weekly call I set up when the pandemic started. My vision of this is to be a resource for real estate professionals and aspiring professionals to get together and to learn, be more proficient, share best practices, share vendors, for newer people to learn kind of a path, for experienced people to mentor newer people and help them along the way. And we do this every week, every Thursday at 4 o'clock. We get investors on here who want to learn how to unwind some probate problems. We get realtors who want to learn how to list and sell property and close deals. And so you're welcome to come. We also are on YouTube live. And then afterwards, if you register through the Eventbrite at probateweekly.com, we'll send you a link every week to the video as well. So don't worry about missing the calls. And if you like that, if you be so kind as to subscribe or like the videos, that helps encourage us. And we're getting more of a following from vendors and stuff because of the people watching it on the YouTube channel. It's been a big asset for us. So as we get started, I want to share 2 ideas today that I think you guys will enjoy. The first one is from Inc. magazine. I was on the phone just before this started with one of my college roommates. He's actually President Steve Combs of Bay State University in Boston, Massachusetts. And we're catching up, and he was sharing with me the 70-20-10 rule. And he was explaining how this is they're revolutionizing or attempting to revolutionize education by a number of different things, appealing to people who have jobs, shortening the terms, more intense, online first, that kind of thing. And he shared this rule that was designed, the 70-20-10 rule. There was a class where people were invited to make pottery. I've never really made pottery, but go with me for the sake of the story. And the concept was that one group was told the most important thing was the quality of the pottery. And the other group was told the most important thing was the volume of pottery that they made. And so the question is, which group do you think actually ended up making the higher quality pottery? You want to put in the chat box or say out loud or raise your hand. You had 2 groups. One's focus was higher quality pottery. The other group's focus was the volume of pottery. They were going to weigh the pottery and see how much they made to determine what was the winning team. And which of those 2 groups do you think actually made the better quality pottery? Anybody?
The higher volume.
Yeah. And why is that?
Because they didn't have the expectations on their shoulders, so that they didn't stress on just how good it was going to be. They just did it. They
just did once. It was probably a mess. And then they did another one. And maybe got a little better. They learned from some mistakes. They got a little better and a little better. And after a while, they did enough times where they really learned through their failures on how to, and the first 9 were bad, the 10th one was great. And as you said this, I was reflecting on my business as a real estate agent, particularly in probate. I know there are agents who get into marketing. I'm in a group, in fact, Gabby, you're part of the group, where we were encouraged to do video. And I've been doing it for a little bit of a while. But what I would say is that the coach kept saying, just do something and then do it again tomorrow and then tomorrow and tomorrow. And what happens is I took that challenge when he first mentioned it a couple months ago. And that's why this call is on video. And like it or not, I have to say more people get to see this that want to see it because it's on video. It doesn't really cost that much extra to do. But by doing the video, I got a little better at it each time, got a little more purposeful and getting better results as well. In my probate business, literally I was on the phone with an attorney yesterday. And the truth is, of my probate business, I do a lot of volume of smaller deals. For an LA agent, my average transaction was like $350,000 last year. I did a lot of $5,000, $10,000 lots along the way. But as I explained to the attorney, that volume made me a much better probate real estate agent, because by doing the deals other agents didn't want and they didn't compete for, I met with attorneys, I went to court, I saw judges, I read files. And as a result of just like the pottery making 10 times, the 10th one becoming better, my level of service is better now. And as real estate agents or investors, often we hear about somebody does one deal and they make $100,000 on it. And we think, wow, I could do 3 deals and make $300,000. That would be great. And it might be for income, but I'd rather do 30 deals at $10,000 each and gross to $300,000. Of course, there's expenses and net numbers and all that. I get that. But my point is, I'm willing to do the extra work, because if I do 30 deals and one falls apart, I still have 29. Number two, by doing 30 deals, I have a business. If you do 1 or 2 or 3 of anything in a year, it's really hard to be good at it. It's hard to stand out. It's hard to be an expert. And so I would say to investors, the key thing is get started. And for real estate agents, so many agents will buy data from data sources. And I'll see in the different chat boxes and Facebook groups and such, well, I got the numbers. Should I mail this? What should I mail? How should I mail it? How about just mail them all something and call them all? Like, just call them all. What should I say? I don't know. You'll figure it out by the 10th or the 30th call, but just call them all. And so I just want to use this as an opportunity for all of us. And I'm reminding myself, we just have to get into action. We'll figure it out as we do it. Yes, we'll make some mistakes. Yes, we'll fail along the way. But along the way, if you do it enough consistently, you'll get great at it. That's the message I want to pass on for all of us today. So that's from Inc. Magazine, and I'll put the link to the article in our show notes if you're interested. The second thing I want to share today is for any agent that is part of our EXP group, and those who aren't, there's a program, Gateway to Mastery. You may know my sponsor was Don Hobbs, one of the really first big real estate marketing coaches in the business out of Orange County, went on to be the Gary Keller's partner in Bold Coaching. And now he's the president of Success Magazine and Success Industries, the EXP buy. And so he's doing a coaching program, 1 year of accountability in 13 weeks. They took a 1-year program and crammed it down to a 13-week program. The total cost is $497 for those 3 months or 13-week program. And we have some world-class coaches that are in this, from Bold and from Allison Gaddy, the Condo Contessa on branding. So some great stuff, and Don Hobbs, the real Don Hobbs, we call him as well. So if you're interested, enrollments will close March 31st next week. It's $497 for 3 months. I'll put the link in the show notes. If you are with EXP, it's free. If you want to join EXP, we'll make that free along the way as part of your package. So I'd love to have you join us in that. Okay, so all that said, let's go to our regular group here and talk about probate as well. Anybody have any particular stories in probate or challenges or issues you'd like to share with us today? Probate or real estate investment related? Anybody? No? So I'll share with you a story of, and this is there's a lesson learned here. I'm not seeing anybody raise their hand or in the chat box. Real life example. So in probate, there's really two ways you can break down the process. The majority of probate real estate sales don't need court confirmation. They're like any other residential transaction. There's a couple different forms. There's one little trick, but basically it's like a regular transaction. And then about 5 to 10% require court confirmation. If it's a conservatorship, a guardianship, or contested probate, often the parties require the law requires the court to approve the sale. So the way that works is you sell the house as an agent. Very complicated. This is where I recommend the first time, let me partner with you on it. I'll teach you everything individually in that deal, and then you'll become an expert in it. But I see agents all the time try to do it on their own, and that's where I bring investors in, and we get good deals because they make a few mistakes along the way. And that's where they get continued over and over again and delayed for months. But that said, We saw a sale with an agent who, for my money, had made a couple key mistakes. That's blood in the water for me and investors. And I brought an investor into the property. We bought it at court confirmation for a good price. We think we got it and made a good profit on the purchase. The rule in court confirmation is you have to close within 10 days of receipt of an original court order signed by the judge. So it means an original, a certified copy, signed by the judge. So you can be in court and there's a piece of paper that says you won, but the clock of 10 days doesn't start until the attorney prepares the order, gets it to the judge signs it, then they get a certified copy and give it to you. And most people don't know that's the process, so they don't push the process. They don't push the attorney right away. They don't push the court to get back a signed copy. They don't then push right away to get the certified copy and get it at least to escrow or the agent to start the clock. And so oftentimes buyers want a little extra time, particularly on investment property. So my buyer in this case wanted a little extra time. This is a development project. It's not a fix and flip. And so he's knocking it down, rebuilding. So there's plans and architects and all that going on. And he's getting ready to finalize the deal, but he just has a couple things he wants to get done before he closes. And he said, there's any way to extend things a little bit, let me know. And it turns out that we were working hard to be ready in case we're pushed, but also take advantage of any delays. And it turns out in this case, the seller is available to sign the grant deed. Imagine that. So until next week. So you're supposed to close tomorrow and my buyer gets an extra week, but we were ready to go. And we had some tools that we could maybe delay things if we had to. But it's good in this case that if you play your cards right, what I always say is if you're prepared and you work hard, you often get lucky. If you're not prepared and you don't work hard, in my experience, you never get lucky. Everything is hard. And so another way of saying that is if you're hard on yourself, life is easier. And so in my case, my buyer and I really got ready to close on time. Fortunately for us, we got a free week's pass from at least a week from in fact, I have two of these transactions. Dennis, I see your hands up.
Yeah, Bill, did your buyer get to see the property ahead of time? Or was it a regular sale that went through or, and doing diligence? Probably no due diligence on it because you were getting a good price.
Well, in this case,
Inspection, I mean. Yeah.
In this case, it's the court overbid. So somebody had bought the property, been in escrow for months, and thought they were going to sneak it by us. And it's just always funny when you deal with the listing agent on these deals, and they're always kind of cagey about seeing it and kind of discouraging you or whatever. And then we show up and we bought it. But the property was fenced off. We were told it wasn't available because the city had done that, but that didn't make any sense. The city doesn't put up a fence and lock your property because of violations. There were violations. The property was being cited, but they make you do that unless it gets really bad. They're ready to condemn it. So my buyer actually went to the property and met the neighbor. The neighbor said, "Oh no, I put the fence on and I put on the lock because we were having problems with people who were squatting on the property." And he gave my buyer, before he closed escrow, actually access to the property, and he was able to walk in and see some things, some trees they want to get rid of, trees they can't get rid of. So yeah, no, my buyer definitely had an inside track by doing the extra work ahead of time. And that's what happens. I send out a list to my investors of properties are coming up, and then if we catch it early enough, we have time to go and find these little nuggets where somebody else might not bid on it because it looks too ominous, but you go there and then they let you in. You realize, oh, I could do this, I could do that. It's not such a big deal. So that's what we do. Let's see, Dennis. Nice background there, Dennis.
Thank you.
Looks like the surf's up here. Are you going to jump out and catch a few tasty waves here while we're waiting?
I'm sitting here at the beach just hanging out.
Yeah, very nice. I like that. Good. So that's the story. Who has a deal closing? You guys want to share a story, a war story with us? People like to hear about what's happening in the market. Who's closing a deal or not closing a deal, or and you can share with our group. Anybody?
I've got another question for you, Bill.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Properties in a trust, and The trustee is no longer alive, so they need to assign another trustee. There's a daughter that was not originally on it. So what's the process on that? Does she have to go to court to be assigned?
Yeah, so if it's not provided for in the trust document, the succession process, then the
Right.
attorney will file there's a process they go to create a new successor trustee. And they have to notice people, public notice, publication, things like that they go through. And there's real estate involved in it?
Yeah. No, there's not.
Okay.
The real estate's already been disposed of, so it's a couple investment accounts and a bank account.
Okay. So yeah, definitely. Is the total of the accounts more than $150,000? Or I think 167 that went up to. Is it more than that amount?
I don't know. I'll have to ask her that.
Okay.
If it's
Because
not,
it
then
might
it's
be-
a small,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
It was below that number. I think it was 167. It used to be 150 for the longest time. That's a small probate. They can probate it. If it was more than that, then they can probate it, or they can assign a successor trustee or something of what to do with it. And there's a legal process of how that gets done. Like based on where they are in the family tree. So
So
definitely.
she's going to need either way, she's going to need an attorney to walk her through this.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
again, if it's below the threshold, I think it's 167 for small probate, then probably not. She can do it herself. If it's more than that, then yeah. And just kind of FYI, not included in that number is insurance. Life insurance is usually has a designated beneficiary, and usually not included are IRAs. They usually have designated beneficiaries as well. So it would just be bank accounts and security accounts that would be an issue that don't have beneficiaries already assigned. Good question. Okay, so who else has a question regarding probate real estate, how probate works? Who's got a problem or challenge, or anybody here working on calling petitioners, calling attorneys, having particular luck with that? No? Nobody? Really? Come on. Okay. So let's see what else is happening in the probate world.
Would you recommend it?
Well, it's funny you say that, because I know people all the time who jump into it and start their business in it. And for most of them, I wouldn't recommend them to do it. I think what I would say is that if you're an established real estate agent, I would recommend you first learn about living trusts and use that as content to share with your current database as a way to find some probate business.
Yeah.
If you're a brand new agent, I wouldn't recommend it, because you don't really know how to close real estate. Why take on complicated transactions when you haven't learned simple
Too many
ones?
moving parts.
Correct. As an investor, I think it's a great source, pre-probates or probate. If you're looking for something to cold call or to do lead generation, I think it's a very good field. And so I do work with investors and help them. I give them data. I kind of coach them up on what to do, and we work together. So I would definitely recommend for investors who have a marketing plan, who are spending money to generate business, this would be a niche that I would add to your other programs. But I wouldn't start with probate. I think it's a little more complicated. And I see, companies will have brand new agents and sell them the probate data. And I appreciate the enthusiasm that agents go after it. But again, I think it should be hard to sell a seller to list with you when you haven't listed a house before. That makes sense?
Sure does.
For experienced agents, I think it's great to start off with adding in. If you're an experienced agent doing 10 or 12 deals a year minimum, you have a database of 200, 300 past clients, vendors, and such. If you just called them all and talked to them about whether they had a living trust or not to avoid probate, you would generate more probate business than you would cold calling strangers to ask them to let you list their house. And once you've done a couple probate deals with and your past clients are easier deals, they're friendlier, they like you, they trust you already. So those deals usually a little easier to work on, even in probate. And so if you do a couple that way, now you've learned the process, you've worked with an attorney or two, you've been to court a couple times. So now you can start prospecting, I think, strangers to add to your business.
Mhm.
I think that realtors are way too fast to add probate business when they're cold. I just think that's, I would say not to do it, but it definitely is a challenge.
Also, when you talk to your existing clients and they don't have a trust, then you can, that's a way in to talk to the attorneys.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I teach a class just on this, but I'll give you a quick 3-minute overview, which is I recommend agents, sales professionals to call their entire database and identify your database as one of 3 things. They're all either, they have a trust, they don't have one, or you don't know. So the ones that have a trust, and you can check public records and see how they took title. You certainly want to make sure the house is held in the trust. So you should call them if they have a trust, verify they bought the house that way, the deeded online. But you might call them and say, hey, Dennis, Bill Gross, I noticed you guys, when I sold you the property, that you didn't buy it in a trust, but now you've put it in a trust. I have a lot of clients who need living trust. I'm curious, were you happy with the attorney you work with that created the living trust for you? And Dennis is going to say one of 3 things. Yes, we love them or her. No, we hate them or her, or kind of in the middle. If they love them, you would then say, well, that's great. I talk to people all the time that need living trusts like you, other customers of mine. Would you mind if I called attorney so-and-so and use them as a resource for my other clients? Oh, no, he's the greatest. Here's his number. Tell him we called. Now you're calling the attorney and you're saying, hey, I talked to Dennis Smith. He says you're the greatest trust attorney. I'm a realtor. I come across people all the time that need living trusts. And here's the key phrase. Are you still writing living trusts? That tells him his business or her business, because many attorneys will start their career doing living trusts. And as they move up the food chain, delegate that to some lower entry-level attorney because they want to administer the trust. That's where the bigger money is. And by asking that question, you're telling them, I know your business a little bit. So you're still writing living trusts. Oh, yeah, great. I'd love to refer people to you. Tell me about how do you do it? Do you do some do seminars in their office, some do webinars, some do like a once a month gathering at their office. Some just do a consult first, whatever they do. Find out the process and use that. When the customer says, oh, if we hated our attorney, now you can refer them to somebody else. I know it's been about 5 years. Have you had it reviewed? You might want to check another service and have it looked at. And then the ones that don't know, of course, you want to find out. So this is a way to generate, obviously, business for living trust attorneys, help your clients. And here's the other thing. Make sure your client's real estate is deeded into the trust. Because if they bought the property more than 10, 15 years ago and they refinanced, many lenders had them deeded out of the trust to be refinanced. You don't have to do that anymore. But you used to have to do that. And they'd forget to deed it back in the trust. And that would cost about a $10,000 or $20,000 legal bill down the road. So definitely for an agent like you, Dennis, who's been in the business a while, has a good client database, has a good relationship with them, the low-hanging fruit is that rather than cold calling petitioners to list their house. And my belief is if you work into that conversation that you're an expert in probates, probates real well, you're going to get more probate business that way than you'll ever get a cold call.
Bill, how do you segue in the attorney conversation to probate? You're talking to him about trust. Do you still write trusts? And so how's the segue into the probate part of it?
So we can role play a little bit. So Dennis, tell me about your practice. You do living trust, you do trust administration, and they'll talk about that. They love trust administration. Trust administration is like being handed REOs to attorneys. They love talking about that. And you can just ask a question. Do you also do probate and/or probate litigation? Some do, some don't. Some will say, I don't really like to do it. I refer it out. Some will say, yeah, I do probate occasionally, that kind of thing. So let's tell you, I wouldn't ask them for referrals. I think the relationship first.
Right.
In my case, I used alltheleads.com and they have like a trifold brochure of all the services a realtor can provide to a family in probate. And so I might just say to them, hey, by the way, Dennis, if you do an occasional probate, I know that for you, the challenge is all the other non-legal services. I can help you with that. And as examples, the ones that I normally present to them are, I'll do the legal research for, I'll find out how the property is deeded. I'll pull up the deeds of trust and do some research for you. We'll drive the property for you, tell you the condition of the property. I literally did that last week for a prospect attorney that I work with. So I offer that service. Maybe I'll send them the trifold in the mail. In the old days, I'd see them in person and hand it to them. So I haven't done as much mailing of that. But it's on my website as well. So I talk about the services, but again, I never asked for the business. I'm just offering them the service.
Hey, can I ask a question?
Sure, Gabby.
So I know I'm new here. Bill, thanks for inviting me. I ran the office of a law firm for 6.5 years. And I had a bunch of attorney clients as well as real estate clients when I ran my business. One of the things, and I know it's harder in our current environment to do this, but attorneys are required to do continuing education, and they wind up being part of a bar association, just like you guys are part of a real estate association. And when I worked at the law firm for 6.5 years, one of our attorneys, one of our partners was a trust in real estate, and she was on the board and whatever for Beverly Hills Bar Association. And every month she was going to classes that were continuing ed. Why would you do cold calling instead of going to an environment where those attorneys already are and start creating the relationships with the attorneys and get in front of them that way to say who, and then when you're in an environment like that, who does probate, who does trust admin, who does writing the trust.
Right. So it's interesting you say that. It used to be they did the classes at the courthouse.
At the what?
At the courthouse, were the biggest attended classes. And so I go there. And for the LA Bar Association for sure. And during COVID now, they do them online. And I've taken them. To be honest, I only there's no networking. There are people who sponsor if you want to buy the business. They haven't asked me to sponsor, so I don't. There are people who, that's their business plan, is they sponsor that. But I find they don't do, some do business, some don't. But more important than that is I go to the classes to learn about the business.
Right.
They had one, both the LA and the Beverly Hills Bar, and they have around the country. What Gabby was talking about, continuing ed, these associations have different meetings. They get together, and they had 2 classes with judges explaining what they look for, what they expect, what the turnaround times are. That's worth gold. So when I was talking to an attorney the other day, I literally said, yesterday I was on the LA Bar Association class with the panel of judges, and I heard Judge Penny of Department 2 say blah, blah, blah. I'm an expert when I say that, right? So I would say take the classes. They're only like $25 to educate yourself and be the expert. And there's
and they have different sections. So you could have the real estate lawyers section, the trusts and estate lawyers section, the bankruptcy lawyers section.
Right.
So take the ones that are in the section that makes sense for what you're trying to do.
100%. So I do the trust and estate section. I'm a member of both. You can be an affiliate member of the bar. I'm an affiliate member. There's a lot of benefits to it. 100%. And I think if you're in collections, you're an investor, dealing with judgments and enforcement. They had a great class the other day on really how the process is for judgments and enforcement of judgments and such. So definitely great suggestion, Gabriella, on the Bar Association's affiliate program. You can join, or you don't have to join. You can just go as a guest. And they have bar associations in every state in the country. Whoever's on this call, we have people now coming in from all over the place. Definitely check out your bar association. That was something that Chad Corbett, my coach, and all the leads had mentioned. And I went to a couple, and number one, I realized the people who sponsor the realtors weren't even paying attention to the class. I'm thinking, this is like the gold. Like the real gold is to know how to do the business. It's nice that people think I'm an expert, but it's even better to be the expert. So learning that stuff is invaluable.
Can non-attorneys attend these classes?
Yes. Yeah. You can, non-attorneys can choose to or not join as affiliate members, number one, of the bar, of the Beverly Hills Bar and of the LA Bar. And whether you're an attorney or not, or member affiliate or not, you can pay as a guest. There's a fee of like $25. If you're a member, maybe it's free. So I've been a member, and I also pay for the classes. So definitely you can go, and I find them very helpful. There's the bar, the LA Bar, the Beverly Hills Bar. There's a San Fernando Valley Bar Association. They've all been a little discombobulated with COVID, so they're all a little different. They have in-person meetings and mixers and social. I don't do those. I just don't like that myself, but they go on.
Just so you know, there's also like the Hispanic Bar Association, there's the LGBT Bar Association, there's the Southeast Asian, there's the South LA Bar, Jewish Bar Association, there's all kinds of them. And you don't have to be Hispanic to go to the Hispanic Bar Association, et cetera, et cetera.
How do you locate these?
Just Google search. Just Google search the, who asked that, Dennis?
Yeah.
Yeah, just Google search Orange County Bar Association. And I'm sure it's ocbar.org. Or
I'll look for San Diego if you don't mind.
I'm sorry, San Diego. Yeah, look, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the beach there, and I'm thinking of Newport Beach, but I don't know what the shot is behind you, but San Diego. Look, it's just Google search San Diego Bar Association. And here's the other thing: if there's an upcoming class that you think is good, share it with the group, because and I'm guilty. I should have done it also. There are a couple really good programs recently. One where you met the judges, and I think it's invaluable to see them with their robes off and to see them as people and hear their backstory. It was really interesting. And again, I go to court pretty regularly, so for me that was really valuable and interesting. They also talk about for example, the scheduling of sales that they had been as long as 90 days, and how they're really working on scheduling to 30 or 35 days right now. So it was very, very interesting. And Dennis, I'd love to hear what's going on in the San Diego Bar as well. So keep us posted.
Okay.
Good stuff. Good questions. Thank you, Gabby. That's really, and there's other groups. I know that when I took all the leads probate mastery program, which I think is the best training in the business. And I believe once you take it, you can watch it on a video as much as you. I'm going to mute somebody there. I think it's Juju Abraham. The background. My friend Abraham, my very close friend Abraham, has a bird, Juju, that I think is making some noise. Anyhow, Chad Corbett, the coach, recommended a number of different groups. There's a National Fiduciaries group, great source of business for real estate agents. And then there's elder care groups. There's a whole, I know there's BNI and there's other kind of networking groups. There's nothing wrong with them. I find those tend to be more consumer oriented and not as I'd like to go to learn more than I do just to network. I talk to people all day long. Yes, Gabby.
Gab, I used to be a member of the Cal CPA when I was a bookkeeper, and they do continuing ed also. So you could look for continuing ed that they're offering that is real estate based.
There you go.
For example.
Yeah, thank you. It's a wealth of information. Yeah, CPAs that I ask, I get asked for referrals from time to time from literally last week, conservatorship accounting, special niche of accounting that has to get done properly that people need help with. So yeah, there's a lot of different associations that, and they're all different, in real life, as far as some are active, some are inactive. Some have morning meetings, some have lunch meetings, some have evening and social hour kind of stuff. I like daytime. I work from 7:30 till 6 or 5:30. I don't like to work evenings. There are people who do. Then go to the evening stuff. I think that's great. But they're all different. And I noticed that each one's different in different areas. I know San Gabriel Valley looked like it was more social networking, whereas LA was all about the content. And that's what I enjoyed myself. So definitely take a look at different organizations and then report back. If you find one that you like that has some good information, report back to us. Sasha Allen, I'm glad to see you on the call if you're available. I want to hear the end of the story with your tenant, your probate with the tenant situation that was looking like a short sale. How did that work out? You there? No? Sasha, you there? I know Sasha has young kids, and during COVID, that's a whole another level of challenges and problems. No? Okay. So what else we have going on? Anybody else here have any good deals, probate that you have under contract you want to share with us? Anybody have a property that they think they're looking for some money on? Can help we can get sold today? No, I should have brought one on today. I didn't think about it. No? So if you're a wholesaler, investor, or an agent, you have an off-market listing, or if you're a wholesale investor, you have a property under contract, and you'd like to try to find a buyer on it, send to me ahead of time. I'd be more than glad to present it to our group and see if we can't help you find a buyer for it and get it sold. Anytime. Anybody else? Any other questions, challenges, problems? We can wrap up here quickly, unless there's anybody has anything I can help them with today. So, not hearing any. Appreciate you guys being on. Gab, thank you.
Are any of the folks listening active investors, real estate agents?
I think I know the answer. Who here is an active investor? Abraham is an investor.
I have a couple of technical questions, operational questions, if somebody know the answer.
Abraham is, in addition to being an agent, is an investor. He does fix and flips in Kansas City, Kansas, as opposed to Kansas City, Missouri.
Actually, Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh, that was Kansas.
Yeah, my friends are in Kansas, but the properties have been in Missouri so far.
Oh, okay. There you go. Stand corrected. Anybody here on the phone, an investor that can share some operational issues with Abraham? Well, why don't you put it out here, and then if somebody has an answer, they'll come back to us.
Well, okay, so I'll give two. They're at kind of a technical level. I'm in California, so I don't know the rest of you all from if you have this issue, but in California, the state has this queer taxation policy. If you form any kind of legal entity, a corporation, a partnership, a LLC, if you live in California, it's judged that your place of business is California, and you have to pay a minimum of $800 tax on that company if it makes any money at all. You can make $5 a year, and you're going to be $795 a whole. It kind of makes it a little difficult to put together consortiums of people that invest in real estate if it's a small deal. $800 a year is a big burden. And I'm just wondering if anybody has figured out how to overcome that.
Is that a tax, or is that a LLC annual report fee for the state of California?
It is called a tax. So if you owe $13 normally, well, you owe $813. If you already owe $1,500, there's not an additional fee for this.
Okay. Yeah, typically some states, and I think California is one of them, that has a high annual fee for LLCs, which make it prohibitive, especially for the purposes of kind of one of the wholesaling strategies is to, rather than signing a contract, especially when that's not available, you can sell your interest in your LLC as the buying entity in a contract for purchase. So I was just curious to know if that might be related to that or not. I'm not familiar with California. I'm in Colorado and invest in Missouri and Florida as well as Colorado.
That's a different question. I don't think, Bill, you might know more about this than I do. This is real estate law.
Right.
And I don't think the real estate department, the Department of Real Estate in California accepts that as an alternative to real estate investing. I think they come after you for that. Bill,
Well, yeah, I think that the point you're making is if you're a resident of California, any entity you have to file the return on, and they use the term tax, but really just a filing fee of $800, and it has effective. It's like a tax or a minimum tax. In out-of-state investors, you'll listen to them talk about how to invest, and they'll talk about having multiple LLCs and have nested LLCs and one for 3 properties, and they'll consolidate and all that.
Yeah.
That sounds great until you're paying $800 a piece in California, which is why so many successful investors don't live in California, or
That's
those who are in
per
California.
year.
Right, and those who focus on California, focus on California business. So when I see the investors that I meet who live here, for the most part, they're investing here. They have a niche and they work that niche. Because for that reason, our tax laws are different in than other states.
Well,
Bill, do you have an answer for that? Like, what is the type of entity that you use?
I don't use an entity, and I think that I'm not an investor first. I'm a real estate broker first. I end up, probably flipping 2 houses a year. I don't like remodeling. I don't hammer. I own a hammer in case a handyman comes and needs a hammer, or my son-in-law comes. We have a hammer. I don't know if I ever used it. I have a toolbox with a bunch of stuff in it. I know where it is, but
Okay.
So for me personally,
So,
I'd buy it if I could junk it out and call Molly Maids and clean it and resell it. I'll do that. Anything more that I don't do. So I do it in my own name. I'm a broker already, and I get people all the time who start as investors and are very scared and get LLCs and get talked into doing that. And I don't know that's right. The first step. I'm not saying they don't have their advantages, but sometimes I feel like you can hide behind the LLC, thinking you can do something you can't do. And I'm just not in that position. So, but I don't have any rental property, and I'm not doing a high volume of investing.
Hello, this is Dennis.
But my investor clients do. They all have LLCs. And the ones that I work with mostly are LA or California based. They have one LLC. They might buy property the way Dave mentioned it. I have one client who buys property at LA Court. He gets a single purpose LLC, so he can sell the LLC without changing ownership and save. What you do save money on is the transfer tax. In LA, you have a 1% transfer tax, 1/10% transfer tax. So $1 million property, you're going to pay $100,000, $10,000, $1,000 or so to transfer the property. And so if you buy an LLC, you're selling the LLC rather than the property.
Right. That's a different issue.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I've done LLCs for that purpose. Good. Any other question? That's good stuff. Good question. Anything else, Abraham?
Oh, I had another technical question, but it's kind of the same nature. I'll let it ride for now. But thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
No,
Tom.
thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks for sharing that.
We held investment property in California and did not have a entity in California. I don't know if
Right.
that helps. We have
I
a
think that's the
Delaware
only way to
entity
do it.
and
Well, if I'm trying to work in a business where other people invest with me, and you get somebody to come in, if they're a high net worth person, for them to come in on a project with me, they're the guy with deep pockets. If anybody gets hurt on the job, they go after them and sue them and so forth. So I need something to protect people if they're going to invest in deals with me.
Yeah.
That's
Sure.
really where the question comes up.
Yeah, part of the cost of doing business is figuring out those pieces, how to do them inexpensively, and I don't have any particular experience. I mean, I know a lot of people who do look, I have a bunch of friends who move in Puerto Rico. They're actually, there's like a neighborhood of EXP agents who accumulated stock, and they live there for 2 years. And if you're there a resident for 2 years, you then pay Puerto Rico taxes. You don't pay federal tax. There's no state. There's a Puerto Rico territory tax of 14%. So you can imagine if you have stock that's worth a couple $1 million, the capital gains you're going to sell, you're not even paying a 20% capital gains rate. Of course, in California, you'd pay 20% unless it's changed and raised to 28 like it's being proposed. Plus, you'd pay California tax of maybe 14% on top of that. So you could be paying 42%. We have friends moving to Puerto Rico to pay 14%.
No, those folks could rename the town, couldn't they?
So yeah, and so I think that said, that's why so many investors are out of California, because you can do those things and invest more freely and raise money. I don't know too many people doing that here in Los Angeles. And if they do, they have one entity, and you have to do a certain volume to do it well.
For a big project, $800 isn't that big of a deal, but
Right.
my size is a big chunk every year.
Correct. Which is calling for maybe creating some sort of a Missouri or Kansas entity to avoid that. I don't know if there's State tax is there.
Yeah, by nature of me living here, I understand I can't avoid this tax.
Right. I agree with you.
Unless somebody knows better, somebody has an angle I haven't learned.
No, I think you're it's 100% correct. I think as long as you live in California, they're going to, look, California taxes athletes. Like if you're a pro football player, the way the NFL pays players, they get paid one check every game, 16 checks a year. And if you play for the Miami Dolphins, you think you have no state income tax. You play the LA Rams here in LA, you owe taxes on 1/16 of your income.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I believe NBA players also. I believe
Really?
baseball players also. I think so.
It's based on where you earned the income. So if you are in California playing, you earned the income in California. That's why there's filing in multi-states. I
Right.
did want to say,
Right.
I don't know how this applies to real estate, but when I worked in Beverly Hills, we
Yeah.
were opening LLCs all the time as Delaware LLCs, and we would file the Delaware LLC as a foreign entity in California. So we would pay the Delaware fees, and then the foreign filing to California
Right.
was $250, not $800.
Well,
Um,
where did these folks live? Did they live in California?
Yeah, these were people that lived in Beverly Hills that were creating these, and nearby to Beverly Hills that were creating these. I don't know, I worked there for 4 years and we must have created 30 different LLCs. They were not real estate, but some of them were islets.
No, that's not the issue. And the state of California didn't come after them for.
No, we
'cause that's
filed
what I
as,
heard. By
no,
the
because
nature of
we
me living
filed,
here.
we filed foreign corporation in California. And it was $250 California fee to file a foreign corporation for a Delaware corporation that was owned by people who lived in California.
So
I
it
think
was a
they're-
corporation though, not an LLC.
Correct. That's the
They were-
distinction.
they were-
Maybe
It's
Maybe
still
that's
it's the same thing. It's called it's called filing a foreign corporation, but
Right.
it's still an LLC.
Right, but I don't
it's
think you can't
Really?
file a foreign LLC. You're filing a foreign corporation.
It does, no,
that's
it's a non-California entity doing business in California files what's called a foreign corporation, regardless of the type of entity.
Oh,
It's just,
So-
you don't get stuck on the terminology.
okay. So at
Well-
least it's less money. It's $250.
This was back in 2014 and I haven't done it since then.
Okay.
So in 2015, so I don't know what the current status of the laws are regarding that. But we probably filed 40 of them in the 4 years I was there, and
Okay.
that's what we would do.
And you called it a what?
In California, go to the website and look up foreign corporation, filing as
Thank
a
you.
foreign corporation. So then the
Okay.
owner of the Delaware LLC that lives in California takes the Delaware LLC and does a foreign filing in
okay.
California.
okay.
Okay.
Looking into,
Nevada.
Thank you.
Nevada and Wyoming are also two other states that have advantageous
They do.
tax law as well. So might want to look into those.
Yeah, Wyoming actually is probably the most secretive and advantageous, and
They're
is
the
a very,
best.
very fast.
Amazing the options you
I-
have.
I've heard that. I've heard they don't report to the other states what's going on.
And you don't have to list who the owners are. You can list the attorney that created and filed it for you as the address and who everything gets reported to without identifying who the owners are.
Really?
In Wyoming, I believe Wyoming's the only state you can do that in.
Okay, there you go. Excellent. Hey, Rick Brand makes a good point. If you want to exchange information, put in the chat box. If you want to put your contact info, name, phone number, email, and such, so we can contact. And then anybody here, if you want to reach out to somebody on the call, if you didn't get their contact info, feel free to come through me. I have everybody's contact info who has registered to be on the call. So glad to be an intermediary if we can help with that. Okay, we're coming up kind of on the witching hour, 4:51. Again, thanks for your help. Appreciate the detailed and Avram, thank you for participating and sharing with us some challenges, and all those who participated, thank you. We do this every week on Thursday, 4 o'clock. And again, the idea is to be a resource to help people be more successful in investing, more successful with probate business in particular. If I can help, please feel free to reach out to me. My name is Bill Gross. I'm Bill at the LAProbateexpert.com. You can email me there or go to my website and catch up with me. My phone number is 310-210-0008. Again, we do this every Thursday at 4 o'clock, probateweekly.com. I also run a call on Tuesdays, which is realestateinvestingzoom.com, which is more oriented towards investors, wholesalers. And we have people from all over the country come on there. I try to highlight out-of-state investment opportunities when I can, or properties. That's realestateinvestingzoom.com. Or again, just reach out to me. More glad to get you the information. Thank you all for participating. It was a great week this week. You'll get a link to the video if you got on late. Please, if you watch the YouTube, please like it or subscribe to support it. Appreciate your help, everybody. Have a fantastic week.
Thank you.